There we go, and we are live. And I'm here with Mike Scarlato, who just recently did our Guns Gis camp, class 5. We wrapped it up yesterday, and man, it's cool. Guns Gis is cool because it gives me the opportunity to just interact and meet a lot of people that I wouldn't meet otherwise, you know? Mm-hmm. And you came in here and we kind of talked some shit. What was it, day 2 before Jiu Jitsu? You came in a little early.
Yep.
And I was like, man, this guy's cool. And you got time to sit around and do a podcast with me when we're done? You're like, fuck yeah, I do. So welcome, man. I appreciate you doing this.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it really is an honor to be here. I listen to you all the time, and it's just like sitting down with the bros. And that's what it is, and it's fucking great.
Well, bro, and that's what we want our camp to always entail and encompass is like, sure, we're cadre. We're the guys that put the camp together, and we're the ones teaching the blocks of instruction. But what we want it to feel like, what we want the experience to be, is people coming and really sharing that time with us. Not like, oh, hey, we're doing this, we're doing that. And not only sharing that time with us, but sharing that time with 30 other people that are on a similar path or a similar mission. And bro, I mean, And feel free. I mean, I don't want any, you don't have to fluff the program up because you're on my show. Like, I love authentic feedback, but like, what did you think of the weekend?
First of all, you guys facilitate the shit out of that. I mean, everybody, speaking for me anyway, but I felt that it was very geared towards, hey, everybody just come together, getting to know everybody. And like day one, there was no, hey, we're not going to send you guys off to do your thing and the cadre do their other thing. It's all combined. And that's huge. You feel like there's no, I mean, there is this obvious separation between instructors and students, but it's more of a joint thing. And I think that's great.
And dude, we thought about that. Like when we put the program together, it's only 3 days, right? And so instead of trying to get away for a dinner or an evening away from the students, it's like, dude, let's hop in with both feet and spend the whole weekend together as a team and do dinners and do the fire and stuff. And bro, a lot of people give us feedback and they're like, the shooting was cool, the grappling was cool, but the bonfire was the best part of the weekend. Yeah. We hear that often, know, because everybody's here for different reasons. But like I said at the introduction, I think the introductions are key because they kind of set the tone for the weekend, and then everybody gets to know each other. I know Christy told me, she said after introductions, it was kind of like a weight lifted off her shoulder because who are all these people, and am I going to feel uncomfortable? Am I going to be the worst person here? Like all those things in our brain that we're telling ourselves. And then you hear everybody's little brief story in their introduction, why they're here. And that alone, people are like, oh, yeah. Oh man, everybody here's like me.
Yeah. It's like the icebreaker. It's like, oh, I can relate to that. I can relate to this, and so can everybody else.
Yeah.
And it's great.
And one thing that I always say in the introduction is like, you can be a black belt, you can be a IPSC world champion, or you can never have picked up a gun like Uriel, or never been on the mats. Like he'd never done either of those things, right? And the whole point of this weekend is to become a better version of yourself than the person that showed up. And it doesn't matter where you're at on that matrix. Like you can be at the very beginning or you can be in advanced stages. You're here to get better. And when you're with a group of 30 people that want to get better, inevitably, man, it makes the vibe happen, camaraderie, friendships. Like there are a lot of people just over the last 3 days that forged bonds that'll probably last a lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the law of primacy states that, when you first learn a thing, the way that you learn it is really deeply ingrained into you. And for Ariel coming out here and doing this the way it was done on both sides of it, I mean, now this is how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And it's great for him and everybody else that does that to know that, I mean, this is a legit thing. It's not like Bob doing this down at the, at the local range or something. This is a legit thing. And
he, like just by chance, another person that attended the course, Brady, who is in that advanced stage of training.
Yeah.
He's very proficient. He is great at teaching. He's great at competing himself. He lives right by him. and they're going to be accountability partners.
That's awesome.
He's going to keep him on the path, you know?
That's awesome.
And it's almost, and then when you hear everybody's story, like, man, people need this, you know? And so it's been cool, man. I appreciate you coming out and doing the camp. And you signed up with Lappin at his Jiu Jitsu Academy a couple weeks before the camp started, right?
I did again a couple of weeks before. So I went through the Reserve Academy with the sheriff's office here.
Okay.
And my work, I was on like a hiatus of work. They didn't need people to fly. So they gave us a break, and I was like, well, I got to do something. So I signed up for that, and that's how I met Lappin. He was doing the defensive tactics thing. And,
so that's why you were calling him Angry Lappin.
Yeah.
Because I've went and I taught a course with him at the sheriff's office to the cadets one time, and it's dress right, dress.
Oh yeah.
You know, like, what the fuck are you doing? Get down. You know. Like,
yeah, I mean, it didn't bother me at all. That was great. And then, you know, but we started with shrimping. I was like, oh, cool. This is pretty neat. And then it's all right. We'll try to do this, and I couldn't do shit. I was getting my ass handed to me left and right. It's like, maybe I need to work on that.
Was that your first exposure to jiu-jitsu?
Yes.
Like actual grappling?
Very first one.
Okay. And at what, 40 years old or 41?
41. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, dude, we're the same age.
Yeah.
And it's your birthday tomorrow, so.
That's right.
Happy birthday.
It's all downhill.
But dude, like, when I do these shows, I like to just kind of let people tell their story, and then we just talk about it, man, you know? And you being a military pilot in both the Army and the Air Force, and now you fly commercially, I think it's a cool story. And I also think I like telling stories that are outside of Rangers or Jiu-Jitsu guys or Navy SEALs, because it's like, that was my circle, and that's cool. People like those stories, but people also like to hear other paths that are open and what walking those paths was like. And when I heard all the shit that you did, and still being a commercial airline pilot, like, that's a neat story. And I think a lot of people are interested in that. I mean, even as a little boy, you know, I was like, a lot of people are like, oh, I want to be a doctor or a policeman or I want to fly planes. You know, You hear that a lot. And so, yeah, where did you grow up at?
I was born in Miami, so the first 11 years were down there. And then just before Hurricane Andrew, we moved up to Shreveport where my parents grew up. But so I claim Shreveport as where I grew up. I learned a lot of lessons in Miami because, you know, I'm a white boy, and that was Cuban country down there. And so I was on the receiving end of all that kind of stuff. And then I think that was good to learn at a young age. But then I came to Shreveport, and then obviously things were reversed.
Yeah.
But, you know, just growing up a regular dude, I was a band nerd, and
what do you play?
Played the trumpet.
Okay.
Yeah. My grandfather played, my father, and then I played. And
do you still play?
When I started flying, I kind of put it down, but I still love music.
Okay.
In fact, I have a horn that I can travel with and just mess around with. But
can you play in the cockpit of the airplane while you're flying?
I could if I brought it with me. You know, I'll put on the PA and, you know, play like a little sonata. All right, go to sleep.
So at what point in your life did you know that you wanted to either fly or go to military service?
All right, so you can make fun of me for this one. When I was young, I watched this show called Airwolf. With this ridiculous helicopter that, you know.
Was that Nick Cage?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I was like 8. I don't know. But it was badass. I'm like, oh, that's fucking cool. And then, you know, Top Gun, whatever. But then the movie Iron Eagle came out, and I watched that. And I was like, holy shit, I want to be Doug Masters, you know? And so I've always had that in me. And I don't know. I thought that, you know, those guys were fucking cool ass dudes, and I'm just me. I could never do that. So then growing up doing the horn, playing the trumpet thing, and I worked at a lot of Boy Scout camps too. And it was a decision. I was at a camp, and I was either going to go military or go, I forget what the other option was, but so I chose military. And I went to the Army, and there was a National Guard band at my hometown.
So your initial enlistment was
That's correct. Yeah,
to go in the Army as
a
okay.
Yep.
Man, I mean, I knew that the military branches had their band, their different bands, because the base that I lived on in 04 in Ramadi, Iraq, the perimeter security was the Marine Corps band.
Yep.
So we used to joke that like there's tuba players keeping us safe at night.
Well, that's right. So
right?
Katrina, that's what we did. I was in the band for 9 years before I, switched over to the Air Guard and started flying. But yeah, Katrina, we put down the horns and picked up rifles and went down there.
Shit.
Oh yeah.
So your whole time in the Army, then, that was your MOS?
I was a bugler. Yep.
Okay. So, I mean, at that point, how long you say, 9 years?
Yeah, about 9 years.
So you're what, 27 or something when you switched to the Air National Guard?
Yep.
And you didn't pursue any type of aviation simultaneously? Like, did you fly privately or anything like that?
I did. I was going through college. I met my wife there, and her dad was a pilot for Delta.
Okay.
And he was just, holy shit, I'm meeting a real pilot. This guy's fucking awesome,
I wanted to fly since I saw Airwolf.
That's right. I didn't tell him that part. But, and then I met him. I'm like, he's just a regular fucking dude, just like me. If he can do it, I can do it. So then, she kind of...
Which is true for almost fucking anything in this life, right?
It's weird how that works. It's all up here.
You get some self-belief and attack it and boom,
Yep.
And so that was the first thing that kind of inspired you to say, I can do this, huh?
Yeah, that was the first little nugget. And then, I was not really pleased with my school progression. I started out as like a mechanical engineer and got bored and switched to computers and realized that definitely is not me.
Yeah, fuck that.
So my wife was like, hey, you want to fly? Why don't you just go fly? I'm like, well, shit, I guess it is that easy, because they had an aviation program.
Okay.
And so I switched over to that. And like from day one, it was like, holy shit, this is where I'm supposed to be.
It just felt natural, huh?
Yeah. I mean, if everything made sense, and that's huge for me. So
you must be one of those geniuses.
No.
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 And I don't know if you know this, but when I left the regiment, I went into Army Aviation.
Okay.
Yeah, and I became a warrant officer, and I went down to Fort Rucker, Alabama, and I was slotted to fly CH-47s.
Okay.
And I got hurt in flight school and medically discharged from the military. And probably the best thing that ever happened, just because who knows where life would have went, right?
Yeah.
I probably would have tried to get into the 160th and got shot down in some mountain in Afghanistan or something, right? But I remember I was only in flight school for a month or two, very, very new. We weren't even doing any actual flights yet, but we did some stuff in the simulators.
Yeah.
Where I killed everybody every time. Because we had a Black Hawk simulator, and bro, those things, there's 450 switches and knobs in there, all over the dash and on the ceiling and stuff. And that's probably the same in the aircrafts you fly, yeah?
There's a bunch of shit up there. So the
intimidating.
Yeah, the 757, 767, which I fly now, I want to say there's like 30 or 40 different ways to adjust lights. Just the lights. There's a knob here, there's a knob here, all this other thing. But then there's also, a bunch of other buttons and things. But I mean, the majority of what we do, we use an eighth of that. Okay. Unless shit goes wrong. And then we start using it, more and more.
Yeah.
But yeah, once a thing makes sense to you, I think it's like Jiu Jitsu. It makes sense.
You build a foundation, and then you can kind of go off on different paths when you need to. So then you went through a civilian aviation program. At what age was that?
I was 22 or 23 when I started. And then, the program puts you through, it's like 4-year college degree, and you come out with a major in professional aviation and a minor in aviation management. And you'll, CFI, IIMEI.
Which that's speaking Mandarin to me.
It's certified flight instructor, and then the II is certified flight instructor with instruments, so you can do without seeing outside.
Okay.
And then multi-engine flight instructor.
Got
it. So you get all that, and then you go start instructing. And
so is that's kind of the normal path Once you start instructing, is that how you build your hours?
That's one way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because if you want to fly like professionally, right out of flight school, will they even accept resumes, or do they need a certain amount of time in cockpit?
The airline industry is up and down, up and down. And right now we are very short of pilots. So there are kids getting out of college who are getting on with regional airlines, doing the airline thing with the regionals, smaller planes. And that's it.
So they build their hours regionally,
right,
and then can apply for like the bigger airlines.
Exactly.
Was it true? I heard that like for a long time, almost all commercial airlines pilots came out of military.
That was back in the day. That was the thing, because there's civilian training. And when I went to flight school in Columbus, I was an instructor. I'd been flying all this other stuff. So I'm like, fuck, I'm good to go, right?
And well, in Columbus, you're saying that's the course that you just referenced?
It's UPT is unqualified pilot training, or undergraduate pilot training.
Okay.
And that's where you go, day one people, whatever, and then they go become a military pilot.
Got it.
And they have different places around the country to do that. Mine was in Columbus, Mississippi.
Okay.
So went there, and I thought I was good, but the military way of flying is very regimented, very precise, and it's a hell of a lot harder than just the civilian side.
Did you, so then just to backtrack a little bit, you went to civilian flight school at 22.
Right.
And then flew and instructed for however many years. Then you went to military flight school at what age?
I was 27.
Okay.
26, 27.
So you had 5 years of experience.
Right.
And my question was going to be, did you find that having 5 years of experience benefited you, or was it a lot of habits that you had to reverse and change the way you did things?
It was absolutely a benefit, especially beginning, because you know how to fly, and you get the basics of aircraft and how it works.
And a lot of people there were day one nothing, right?
There were quite a few people who had never flown before.
Okay. So it's kind of like Guns Gis, man. You got super experienced people and green people, but the cadre is tasked with bringing everybody up from the bottom.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And the bottom people are going to learn real quick, and then you just have to progress as well. But the benefit wears off after your first phase of actually figuring out how to fly the airplane, and then you've got the big part is the military game that they play, which I fucking hate.
Elaborate.
So you've got these situations where you have to stand up and recite all this stuff. Okay, they're trying to induce stress to make sure that these procedures. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But then there's just dumb shit. Like I was a guard guy, so I don't have to fight for a position to be top of the class to get a fighter or whatever.
You were already assigned to the unit then.
Right. I was a part of the unit when I went to flight training. And so there's this battle between everybody else to be number one to get your first choice of airplane or whatever.
I see.
So that wasn't me, and I'm like a chill dude anyway. So I was smiling and happy or whatever, and instructors didn't like that. You're too fucking happy, blah blah blah. I'm like, dude, fuck off, man. Am I flying the airplane? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Whatever. That kind of shit I don't like,
bro. I mean, I talk about it all the time on the show. I think the initial phase of going into the military, where they really tear you down and it's aggressive and it's sit down, shut the fuck up, or like the shark attack from the drill sergeants, all that stuff, right? I think for 18, 19-year-old men, there's probably something to that, right? Because most 18, 19-year-old men think they're the shit and they're still children, right?
Yep.
But at 27 years old, you're already a professional pilot. Like all the games, like, come on, man. And I think that the military needs to figure out the time and place for the dumb shit, and then realize, man, once people are professionals and they're good at what they do and we can count on them and they're doing the right thing, treat them like fucking adults, man.
Yeah.
Like when I went through the warrant officer course, I was like 25, I think. And it's like, line up, start singing songs, and like all your shoelaces better match your shirt. So we had to have like blue shoelaces in during PT because our PT shirts were blue. And if you wanted to eat, you had to sing a song. And it's just like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
And everybody that I've ever met that's went through the warrant officer course is like, that was the biggest fucking waste of time of my entire life. Because we didn't learn how to be leaders. We didn't learn anything about our profession because it's not MOS specific, you know? And bro, this is a bunch of people that are already, most of them are prior NCOs. So, you know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, it sounds like some of the same shit, huh?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you say, well, there's got to be a reason for it. They're trying to do something. I don't understand what it is.
I don't know if there is a reason to it, man.
Who knows? Maybe the guy's just a dick, you know?
Yeah.
But that same dude, it was like, you know, oh, you're too happy, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the training, we're all, you know, there's this big party, we're all drinking. And he comes up to me, he's like, dude, your wife is so fucking hot. I'm like, get the fuck away from me, you know? Just fucking jackass. I hate that guy.
Well, bro, like talk about unprofessional. Like tearing you down and being a dick during training. You sometimes wonder, is this just part of the curriculum? Because there's times when like cadre's being hard on guys and then they go back in the lunchroom and they're joking. Like, I actually like that guy. He's cool, you know? I'm giving him extra attention because I actually like him.
Right.
But he confirmed all your suspicion. Yeah. If at graduation he's talking about how hot your fucking woman is, like, and you're my superior, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to know that the military hasn't changed much.
It's all fantastic.
So, I mean, that would have been, what, 2007 or something then?
2007 to 2008.
Okay.
Right?
Dude, math. I got Ranger doesn't do math. And then, so what airframe were you selected to fly initially?
I went in to fly the KC-135, which is a big refueler. Okay. A Boeing 707, which, you know, used to be Air Force One, but I'm a nerd, so. And then we got BRAC'd. You're familiar with BRAC?
Nope.
Base realignment and closure.
Okay.
So either shut down bases or open bases or change the airframes or whatever.
So then they're going to reallocate you to whatever units need you for whatever reasons?
Right. Well, no, I was attached to the guard unit. So I was staying put whatever they were doing. So the result of the BRAC is they took away our tankers and then they gave us a new airplane called a C-27, which is a C-130J model, but with 2 engines, a little bit shorter.
Because the C-130's got 4 engines, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's pretty much been the workhorse of, you know.
I love those fucking planes, man.
Yeah.
Rangers and C-130s, like we go hand in hand.
Stuff. It was the same thing, but 2 engines. It looks exactly the same.
Okay.
So we flew that, and a lot of people didn't want to do it. They would get out, and, you know, they didn't want to transition. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'll do that.
What was the mission of that plane?
It was TAC airlift, you know, the last tactical mile or whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
And so we would do, you know, TAC landings at night, dirt strips with night vision. We do airdrops.
So did you ever work with the regiment then? Do you know?
I don't. We carried a bunch of folks. I don't think we were attached to anybody specifically. But
would you drop dudes for like airfield seizures and shit like that?
We dropped a lot of people. We went to the Yuma Proving Grounds, and you know they were testing out the new platform, and so we would drop a bunch of dudes over there. But when I deployed with it, we didn't really drop people out the back. We dropped like, you know, beans and bullets to guys in a tick or something.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, so we would do shit like that, and then haul other people around to the different fobs and.
And would you do this? You do this all at night, right? Or both?
Night and day.
Okay. Because I remember when I was in Afghanistan, which would have been 02, 03, like the AC-130 gunship wouldn't provide cover during daylight. Even though they're so fucking high up there, it looks like a little speck of dust in the sky, you know? Yeah. But I guess, is that still within range of Stingers then? Is that?
Well, I mean, obviously the terrain in Afghanistan is up and down. So you get a dude on top of a hill or a mountain or whatever, they can reach out and touch you if they have the right equipment.
Okay.
So Afghanistan was my primary area, and I flew all 3 platforms over there. So I got to see the stack from 3 different perspectives, which was awesome. But you know, when I was doing refueling, we'd be refueling with an F-16 or something, and we'd be doing our little pattern, our track, and you look down and you'd see those, you know, dudes with those big guns in the back of a truck just tracking. You just see muzzle flashes tracking you, and you're like, fuck, man. All it takes is that one golden BB and then you're out.
Yeah.
But it never happened. Thank God.
Bro, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
So what elevation would you guys do your refueling at?
That's classified. I'm just kidding.
I was like, roger that.
It depends on what we're refueling.
I see.
So fighters and things, they can go faster. So we can be higher for that. 28 to 30, something like that.
Oh, shit. So,
But yeah, so we're up there ish.
and did you do rotary wing refuelings as well, or just fixed wing?
No, just fixed wing.
Okay. Because, dude, one of my buddies was on the Mullah Omar raid,
Yeah.
which was also when the regiment invaded Afghanistan. It was a simultaneous. The Delta guys did the Mullah Omar raid, and then the regiment invaded or jumped on Objective Rhino.
Okay.
But he flew from the Kitty Hawk in a Black Hawk. And I think, and I might be wrong, but he said they refueled like 2 or 3 times. And he said that the 160th pilots had catheters, or like, that's what I said. They actually put catheters. He goes, yeah, they had catheters because it was 10 and a half hours of nonstop flying, you know, and it was under nods. And it's like, bro, that shit is nuts, man.
Yeah.
So who refuels the fixed wing then, or the rotary wing? Is that a different?
I think it's other rotary wing guys. We didn't do anything with it. We did have what's called a drogue, where like a hose with a basket on the end.
Yeah,
and so Navy guys would come up and they would plug in, and we give them gas. And I'm guessing some of the rotary wing could do that too, but we never touched it.
Got it. No, that stuff's always fascinated me. Like the 47s with that huge refueling boom, you know, it's like a flying school bus that can just keep going, you know, and then you have either aircraft strategically ready to refuel, or like a FARP setup where they'll touch down and it's pre-positioned, they'll refuel and then keep going.
Yeah.
Man, it's crazy, dude.
That's a lot of good times. Some weird shit that goes on, but a lot of just droning in a circle.
Yeah.
You know, because you're a reliability guy. You're out there just in case something happens. Maybe this tanker breaks, and now all these other guys need gas. So you have to go, you know, give them gas.
No, and that's a good point to bring up, because I don't care what your MOS is. Like, everybody looks at the high-speed stuff, right?
Yeah.
And thinks, man, how cool is that? But there's countless hours, even as a ranger, sitting at a gate, pulling security on our front gate, because we lived in these little compounds where we would be doing patrols and all the ranger operations out of it, but we were also our own security. So we had to divide that up amongst ourselves too.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, I'm an Army Ranger and I'm doing 10-hour shifts on a gate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, war can be super exciting and doing crazy shit, and it can also be some of the most boring times of your entire life.
Yeah, MC-12 is the perfect example of that. That's the next one we flew, because they took away the C-27s. They gave us some C-12s, which is a King Air 350 with a good camera and a bunch of signals acquisition equipment on it.
So then I don't really understand what that means, but what was the mission of that aircraft then?
Well, it's a multi-role, so pretty much we would provide support to like the tier 1 guys who are doing some kind of mission. You know? So the boring part, we would go soak the target and look for anything that changes, you know, report it back and things like that. So they have a much better picture when they go do their op.
Got it.
And we do like route surveillance and things like that. And sometimes we got to go accompany the guys, you know, from the air, of course, on their op and watch out and call out things that they might need to know. So,
dude, that's cool, man.
Yeah, it was pretty badass, you know.
And what years were those?
For the military, I did it in, I think, 13. And as a contractor, it was like 14, 15, and 16.
Got it. So then, yeah, I forgot about that. Like, pilots could go back on contracts, just like infantrymen could.
Yep.
When you go back on a military contract, whose birds are you flying at that point?
We were flying military birds. The
Oh,
birds
really?
that we flew. Well, some of them were the same. The advanced stuff were a little bit different, but they're all military birds.
So they would just say like straight up, like, "Hey, we still need you. You're basically going to be in the military without being in the military."
Yeah.
And we're going to pay you 10 times as much.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the government would pay the company, and then they would pay us. But yeah, it's the same shit we were doing.
How long were those rotations?
They were with the military. It was, I had a 90-day rotation, but ended up being like 112 days or something like that. As a contractor, it was 60-60, and on day 60, your ass is out of country.
And bro, I think that's good.
Yeah.
Because at least on the other side of the contracting world, there was guys that would never leave.
Yep.
They basically just lived in Iraq or Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And bro, like that's not good for your psychology. I guess it depends on what you're doing. If you live on the green zone and you're just going to the what was it, the coffee bean and tea leaf,
that's
right? And you're just living a life over there, that's one thing. But if you're operational and you're not taking that time off, I think it affects you more than you know.
Yeah. I mean, there's absolutely. There's like a different mindset that you go into when you're there, and you react to and it changes you a little bit. So to come back and recage and refigure out yourself, there's an adjustment period, but I think that's really healthy.
Yeah. Did you find coming home and readjusting after 60 days, like, because that's a short deployment, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But did you feel like 60 there and then 60 at home was an adequate amount of time to be balanced in both theater and back home?
So when you get to theater, for me anyway, it took, I don't know, maybe 2 days to get acclimated and, get the mission back in my head when I got home.
It always took me, I'd always say a week.
Yeah. You've been doing it for a while. You know the mission.
Yeah. But not just the physical aspects of doing the mission, but I miss my woman, or I'm gone again, or then also looking at the calendar, like, because ours were 90-30s, so we're gone 90 days, home 30 days, and it just felt like you're never home for quite long enough. And then at the beginning of the deployment, it's like, oh, here we go again. And there's a lot of road in front of you. And it just, there's some stress that used to come with that. But I felt like after a week, I'd work out all the kinks. And then it's like, all right, this is what we're doing. It's all good.
Yeah. I mean, it's a switch in your head that you have to play. So when I was home, I was also still in the Air Guard, which was like 2.5 hours away from the house. So I would get home, a week to get back in the home routine. And then I would still have to go to Meridian to do my guard stuff. So I'm away more from the family.
Oh, shit.
Which was, made it worse.
And how old because you have 2 daughters, right?
2 girls.
How old were they, I guess, in 2013 when the deployment life started?
10 and 8.
Okay. Man, and we talked about this a little offline, and if you'd like to talk about it on the show, I think it'd be cool, because
Sure.
a lot of people are parents that are listeners that are also either veterans or in military service, and like balancing that, I would say, because I walked away from that lifestyle due to having kids.
Yep.
Because I didn't think I'd be very good at balancing it. I didn't think it'd be very good for them. But lots of men did.
Yeah.
The majority of the men that I worked with did. And I always had a level of admiration for that, because it's like, man, that must make the mission so much more difficult.
It really is. And the absolute hardest part about doing that whole mission was leaving.
Yeah.
And I was talking with somebody about it one day, and he was like, yeah, it gets easier. And then I thought about that. I was like, I don't want it to get easier. I want that to be the hardest part of what I do, because if it gets easy to leave them,
means your emotions are getting calloused.
That's a whole separate issue.
Yeah.
So that sucked.
How did because I I've had 8 and 10-year-old girls. I know how they are. I know how their emotions work. Like, but I've never had to deploy for months at a time. But even when I'm away for a week or two for work, for things like this, like sometimes it stings a little bit, right? Like I've become a homebody. I like being around my family.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine saying, hey guys, I'm going to be gone for the next 2 months. Like, yeah, it's hard on you for sure. But how did they internalize that? Because it's hard for them to understand at that age.
It is. And it may be a failure on my part, but I've never actually sat down and talked to the girls about that. Their whole life, I've been doing this. So, I mean, I've been gone a lot. And my wife is rock solid as far as taking care of everything while I'm gone. Because, her dad was doing the airline thing. He was gone a lot. So she grew up.
The lifestyle is kind of familiar to her.
Yeah. Yeah. And, so she was handling everything at home, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without that. But I don't know. The first inclination that there was some kind of problem or whatever was, I told you about this earlier. I came home from one of my deployments, and, we had moved to South Louisiana so she could have support with the kids. And I get home and I'm looking for a plate in a cupboard or something. And I didn't know where they were. So,
because that wasn't really your house yet.
That's right. This is, I hadn't lived there until I got back from that deployment. They moved while I was on deployment. So I get back, and my younger girl, was like, what are you doing, Dad? And I'm like, hey, I'm, looking for a plate. Oh, they're over here. I said, thanks, baby. I didn't know that. And then she says, of course you didn't know that, Daddy. You're never home. And that.
Fuck, man.
Right? I mean, talk about a knife to the heart. That was the thing that was like, Mike, you can't fucking do this anymore. You're completely missing your kids' lives. And, what kind of father?
It's such a dichotomy because, again, we touched on it offline, but it's like, since the beginning of time, men have went out on voyages and embarked on journeys for a million different reasons. But very often those included putting your family on the back burner for a period of time. And like at the time, and regardless of how we view the wars now or looking back on it, some of the shit with our government, like that's a different issue, right? But at the time, I would say, like, I know that I did, and we talked about it too, is like, we felt like it was an honorable and necessary mission, and we were supporting our country, and we were responding to something that we felt like was meaningful. And so, like, if men weren't willing to sacrifice for things that they believed were meaningful and important, we'd all be speaking Chinese.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, like, it is important for all of us to kind of endure a little bit of that pain and walk that path, because if we all take a little bit of that, or like a little piece of that pie, it makes it work. But then you came to the realization, like, okay, I've done my part. This is enough.
That was still a hard pill to swallow, because you're capable, the mission, you can do a lot of good over there. And I did. But being able to take that torch and actually pass it on it's not an easy thing, but you have to look at why you're doing it.
So after that, that was kind of the catalyst that made you want to walk away. But did you just go cold turkey, or did you have like a certain commitment that you fulfilled, or?
That was the switch. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this, try to do this airline thing. So I had to, keep building hours and things like that, and get my my applications in and all set up. And I finally got a call and went and interviewed, and they turned me down. They said, "Hey, you were so close, but come back in 6 months." And that was the lowest point in my entire life.
Oh shit!
Yeah, because then I have to go home, not only look at my kids and say, "Hey, I failed to get this job," but also now I have to go back to Afghanistan.
What do you know what made you fall below the line that they were looking for?
So there's a computer test, and then there's like a face-to-face interview. And they asked me some questions, and I didn't fully understand the question. So I stumbled on an answer, and they were like, you're just so close. I mean, it was silly in my opinion, but you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So that's, so I went back and did my 6 months and came back to the same place, and they were like, all right, let's go.
Okay.
So,
I mean, I guess you knew then, like, there's light at the end of the tunnel. I'm putting contracting behind me. It's just a matter of time before.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And my wife knew that too. And so I feel like that gave her a little bit more strength to, you know, hey,
to work
there's
through
the
this.
end right there. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of contractors in my realm, like, and I don't know if it's the same with you, but almost everybody, you would hear this all the time. Like, this is my last contract. This is my last contract. Mm-hmm. And you'd see those guys for years after this is my last contract. And then it started to become a joke that it's like, you know what I mean? It's just every contract's your last contract, you know? Was it the same thing? Guys always looking to get out, but just never quite could, or?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Like, at least not in my little circle that I hang out with.
What was the, if you don't mind me asking, just because like contracting pay was ridiculous. Mm-hmm. In like 04, 05, guys were making $30,000 a month, you know? Mm-hmm. It was probably more lucrative in the aviation side, huh?
We got like $850 a day. So
okay.
It wasn't quite that. But I mean, it was a hell of a lot better than anything I'd ever had.
Well,
before.
that's also in 2013 or 2015, you're saying, yeah? Mm-hmm. Because like, that was the K a day stuff was in like 04 when this first kicked off.
Yeah.
And then it just went down and down and down. And I know guys that are still stuck in that lifestyle making like $354 a day. I'm like, dude, you can almost make that as a police officer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not fucking going to Afghanistan for $350 a day, you know?
Yeah. I mean, so pilots, the same thing. A lot of people will get in this loop and like, all right, well, this is what I do. This is the only thing that I'm thinking I'm going to do. And you know, for me, I was like, well, I want to look outside the box. You know, this is a thing here, but what else is available for me to grow, both as a pilot, but you know, as a husband and father, and myself too. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't part of the picture. Yeah.
So then once you got back home and they gave you the green light, said, hey, we want to pick you up. That was what, 2017?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Did you have to then go through any additional flight training, or are you already good to go just based on all of the schooling you had through the military?
I mean, so the flight training we did was learning how to fly for the airline, Part 121, which is commercial operations for schedule. FAA rules, whatever, and then doing it there, the actual airplane. So the 757, 767. I had to go learn how to fly that.
Okay. Dude, like, you know, Lappin picked me up at in New Orleans International when I flew in last time in his little plane, whatever that thing is.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
okay.
he picked me up and flew me back to, was it Slidell or Mandeville?
Hammond.
Hammond, yeah, the little regional airport there. And bro, we're taking off and I put a headset on and it's just fucking non-stop. And I can't even begin to replicate it because I don't know what everybody's talking about. But it's like, dude, I told Lappin afterwards, I was like, dude, I feel like a pretty switched on person, a pretty capable person.
Yeah.
I know, like, I'm not the smartest dude in the world, but my brain works. Like, I did very well in school. I don't know if I could do that. And he goes, bro, you could, man. He goes, just like when you were a police officer, you know how like there's traffic basically coming through your mic all day, every day. And you block most of it out until they say, hey, like, you know, Paul 1 or whatever your call sign is. And then you key in on it and you hear it and you listen to it. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Because I remember as a new police officer, the radio going off all day was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then it just became normal after a while. But I was like, dude, I don't know if that would become normal. It's fucking nuts, man.
Yeah, it's a challenge. So sometimes we have our primary radio, which, you know, we switch frequencies based on where you are on the country or the world. And you have a backup frequency just in case something happens, or an emergency frequency, really. So we're always listening to those two. And then sometimes you have flight attendants calling up and saying, hey, you know, this issue, blah, blah, blah. And some of them talk a lot. And then there's a little text messaging thing called ACARS. So they'll send you messages too. So you've got all these things coming in. You have to listen for it all. And the primary radio, you know, like you said, the call signs and things, it changes every leg. So, you know, it'll be Delta 1, 2, 3, 4 this leg, and you're just listening for that. But then there's 100 other Delta call signs out there. So every time you hear it, you know, it's like, is that me? No, okay. And then,
so my suspicions were right. It sounds like,
yeah, it's crazy. And you come back and you're a different call sign, but you just spent 4 hours in this one call sign. And you're like, oh shit, that's not me anymore. So you have to, and that's a challenge. And I told Lappin, we were training, and they had the music going, and Joao was talking, and I was like, really trying to just focus on Joao, because subconsciously I'm also processing all this other stuff with the music and things like that.
Your brain has to always be picking up basically all the ambient noise.
You have to be listening to all of it and making sense of all of it, just in case it's for you.
Yeah.
So,
man, I never thought about that.
I didn't think about it until
it
happened. I was like, oh shit, this is what's happening.
Dude, Lappin also told me, and I don't know if this is fucking common knowledge amongst people that aren't pilots, but it's like certain elevations are basically east and west, and other elevations are north and south.
Yeah. And
that's kind of like a national standard. And so that avoids midair collisions, huh?
Well, I mean, they happen, but that helps avoid it. Yeah.
I mean, when you hear things like that, it's like, yeah, of course, I guess that makes sense, but you never think of stuff like that.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, you've never had to figure out how to get from point A to point B, you know, in 3 dimensions. You know, you have left, right.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Have you ever had anything crazy happen on an aircraft where you had to fucking like emergency land or subdue a passenger or any shit like that?
Not in the airlines, but just before Katrina hit, I was flying bank checks for a company down in South Louisiana. So we repositioned the airplanes, and I was flying to Lake Charles Airport and then back to Houston. So I took off out of Lake Charles, and so Lake Charles is here, and then Lafayette is here.
Okay.
And I'm going to Houston. So I'm turning out this way, and I get to about 3,500 feet or so above the ground, and my engine stops. This is one engine airplane. It just stops. And it doesn't, windmill, it just freezes. I'm like, fuck. So I tried.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah, there's that little bit. But so
I'm getting pucker factor just listening.
You try to restart it, it doesn't restart. I'm like, okay, shit, this thing is seized. There's no more engine.
So if you're at 3,500 feet and you have engine failure, what kind of linear distance can you look for, like, landing areas that are going to be suitable to land?
I mean, it depends on the airplane. Like, a lot of people think your engine quits, you're just going to go straight down, but you've still got speed, you still got wind over the wings, so you're going to be able to maneuver to a point. And so that's what I did. I saw Lafayette, and I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm just going to land right up, lined up with the runway. So I was talking to the controller, said, hey, this is what's going on, emergency, all this kind of thing.
They prioritize you immediately.
Absolutely. Yeah, they take that thing very seriously. The emergency word, it's a big deal. So I'm coming in, he's like, yeah, you're clear to land. And then I see this power line between me and the fucking runway. I'm like, Jesus Christ. So, I get on.
Dude. Yeah.
Fuck you, man.
That's some Final Destination
That's
shit.
right.
Like, dude, we're coming for you today. Quit trying to fucking beat it.
Yeah. So I get on there and I say, hey, man, look, I'm not going to make it. And they're like, no, don't think like that. You'll be fine. I'm like, what? Oh, no. There's a power line between me and the runway. So I'm not going to be able to make the runway. And he was like, oh, okay. So I saw a field down there. I'm like, that's it. So I turn and I put it down on the field. No damage to the airplane. There's a berm with cows on the other side looking at me like, the fuck is this dude doing?
Whoa. So then what? They have to come and get a flatbed and trailer it out of there or something?
So I told the controller, I said, hey, there's a field right here. I'm putting it down in the field. So I did. And like I said, no damage to the airplane. And then I get out. I check myself. I'm good. I check the airplane. It's good. I look around and I'm like, all right, emergency's over. And then I just start, holy shit, this thing could have been real. And all the, shit comes into you. It was calm as a cucumber before that.
No, isn't that fascinating? Like
weird.
I talked about that in relation to like combat operations. Mm-hmm. When people are shooting RPGs up your ass and there's bombs going off and you're getting peppered with PKM fire, like fear is not something that you feel during those times.
Yeah.
Because I don't think fear serves you at all. So like you're literally just like, okay, I got to get here. No, there's a power line there. Okay, there's a field. Just going through the motions, and then you can have that emotional dump.
Yeah. It occurred to me later. The very first thought that entered my head when I first lost the engine was, man, it's really fucking quiet up here. And this is kind of nice. All right, let's figure out what to do now.
Did you ever figure out what caused it to seize?
The oil had drained out. There was something wrong with the oil, and it drained out. So there was like no oil.
Oh, during the flight, huh? Because your guys' pre-flight, like when I flew with Lappin and like he showed me like this is our pre-flight checklist and goes through every single thing.
Yeah.
Every single time, no exceptions.
That's right.
And man, because I think about think about every time you get in your car and how many times in your life have you failed to get to your destination. I've had transmissions blow, I've had engine seize, like that's just part of vehicle life, right? But then I'm thinking like, man, if any of those incidents happened in a plane, that's fucking it.
Yeah.
Or you're landing in a field, right? Dude, I think it was United. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Maybe I shouldn't throw them under the bus because I'm not sure. It was American or United for sure, though. And we were flying from Pennsylvania to Seattle. And bro, right next to the plane, a massive flash, and it sounded like an IED went off. And then it was quiet. And we're like, what the fuck is going on? And the pilot got on the intercom. He goes, we just had our right engine blow and we're making an emergency landing. And then he goes, but it's okay. I've made 1 engine landings in flight school. So, he's trying to make people feel okay. I don't know if that's a good thing to say or a bad thing to say, but
one thing that the company, really stresses, and I agree with it, is don't lie to the passengers. You know?
So
if shit have something going on, tell them, hey, this is what's going on. But we practice 1 engine stuff a lot.
Okay.
And in the military, we did it in the actual airplane. But you can't do that with passengers and things.
Oh, so when they say that, then it's simulators that they do those in? Okay.
And the simulators are amazing. It's full motion. You feel like you're actually flying.
Got it.
It's really cool.
So yeah, we made a 1 engine emergency landing. Anyway, it was somewhere in Idaho, and it was like a small regional airport. There was no other big commercial planes on the runway anywhere, and it was dark and it was shut down. There was nobody there. Like the terminal wasn't open or anything, and we all just got off and stood on the tarmac for like 5 hours.
Oh my God.
It took them like 5 hours before they could get another plane in there to pick us up and leave. And like I said, we were coming from Pennsylvania to Seattle, and it was in Idaho. And I was like, fuck, if we'd known it's been be 5 hours, we could have went and rented a car and it'd been about the same difference rather than just standing there the whole time. But whatever, you don't know how all that's going to fucking play out, right. But, dude, I remember because it was with one of my Ranger buddies, and we're like, this is fucking stupid Ranger talk. Because here's the thing. If a commercial jet burns in, people aren't walking away.
Oh, yeah.
You don't see
For the most part,
you don't see that, Yeah. So we're like, dude, if this thing starts to burn in, do you pop the doors and bail out? Then you'll just splatter as opposed to burning up. And I was like, I think that's probably the better option, dude. And he goes, I think so too. He's like, okay, and we're like fucking 23 at the time or something. We're like, all right, if this thing starts to fucking burn in, let's bail out. And then we were laughing, we were joking. We're like, dude, we'll bail out. The plane will be going down, and then we'll see him level out and get control of it.
That's right.
Right before we splat. But it's like, dude, it always, I've flown if I had to guess, probably thousands of times between the military and then all the traveling that I've done. And I can think of issues in airplanes that I've had, and I can count them on one hand.
Yeah.
And it's like every single agency and corporation in the country is just fucked up and ran by idiots, and there's no accountability, and leadership is fucked up. But I'm like, dude, they must be doing something right, because you don't hear about problems in the airlines almost ever.
Right.
You know, what was it? Was it the Boeing 737?
The MAX, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That had a couple problems. I just watched like a little documentary on that. But it was also foreign airlines, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And do you think that has something to do with it?
I really do.
Them not having the same kind of safety standards and protocols that we have here?
Not only that, but training as well.
Okay.
You know, you fly with a bunch of foreign guys, and it's like, fuck, man, how you would never. Some of them, I mean, some of them are shit hot, but you know, you would never, you know, make the grade here, because I mean, this is the training is for real. You know, you have to get your shit right, because they don't want these accidents and things like that.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't it some kind of like sensor malfunction that made them think they were at a different elevation than they were?
I think so. It made the airplane do something and would just go into a dive. But
because I remember during that documentary, there were pilots saying like a good pilot could have resolved that issue.
Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, everybody's armchair quarterbacking people like they always do. But it's also, if that's a realistic, you know, expectation of pilots, that's something you should be able to do, and he fails it, that's not necessarily casting blame. That's kind of what happened.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And our mantra is aviate, navigate, communicate. Fly the fucking airplane. You know, we practice unusual attitudes. So if you're way high or cocked off or way down, you know, click off the automation and just fly the damn airplane. And so I don't know the specifics of all those incidents, but and I've never flown the 737, so I don't know if that was an option, just clicking off all the automation and flying it, but that's what I would do.
Yeah.
You know?
How is being part of that profession just overall as a whole?
I think it's really cool. I mean, I love flying, and, you know, I say it beats a real job, but, you know, it's a ball buster sometimes.
I know you were telling me a day or two ago that you're still regularly traveling. What, 2 days? You're home 2 days and then you're gone for a week or something?
Yeah, so anywhere between, for me, 3 and 5 days on the road, and I'll come home for 2 to 4 days and then go back out and things like that. Like and it depends on the season. So Christmas, I was gone 5 days on a trip, home for 1 day, gone another 5 days, home for 2 days, and then 4, and then 2, and then I was beat.
Yeah.
By the end of it.
What about as far as like the family? I mean, if they're used to 6-month deployments all the time, and now dad's, I mean, basically in and out all the time.
Yeah.
But still out a lot. But do you feel like that method of, I mean, deploying, for lack of a better word, is just more manageable?
It absolutely is more manageable, because, you know, your time between rehacks is a lot less. And, you know, it's not like that all the time. You get like a week off here, a week off there, where you're actually home doing stuff. But there's still a part of me that's like, you know, my wife is really the one doing all the raising of the kids and all this kind of stuff. And we got one in college now, and one is, you know, going to be 16 soon. So it's way easier for her. But
yeah, they're basically full. I mean, I look at my 13-year-old as a full-grown woman now, which might sound kind of crazy, but when I sit down, I look at her and I talk to her. She conversates with me like an adult. Yeah, you know, and it's like they become that almost overnight.
Yeah, Beth's the same way. I mean, she's 15 right now, but you talk to her and she's really, really mature. You know? It's like, well, shit. All right.
And so, I mean, it sounds like you're living just a pretty cool life, doing something you're passionate about, something you've wanted to do since you were 8 years old and saw, what was it?
Iron Eagle. Jesus.
But fucking, for whatever reason, you still decided to become a police officer, huh?
All right. So what happened was...
Because, bro, when I hear that, I was like, dude, Mike seems like a cool guy and he seems like he has his shit together. Like, what am I missing? What am I missing here?
But there's this, and I'm gonna tell you, there were, you know, some flight attendants who are also former police officers, and they were like, "What the fuck is wrong with you, man? You're gonna risk all of this, really good job, all of this for that? You're off your rocker." But so that whole story, COVID hit, and you know the airline slowed way back, and so we got put on an unqualified status. So we were extra, so we didn't go in. It was about a year. Where
What does that mean, unqualified?
well, it's like
You weren't keeping up on certs and shit?
well,
or?
we didn't have any flight. They didn't have any work for us.
Okay.
You know, so do I need to stop moving my hand? Or?
No. I just like to manage the time every so often, see where we're at.
Got you. So we.
Yeah, you can do whatever the fuck you want. You can dance if you want to.
I'm gonna dance right the fuck here. But so you know, we were at home not being used, and they were still paying us as well. So I'm like, I'm at home for an extended period of time, like almost a year, and I don't like just sitting around. So
when you're on, like, I mean, is that considered a furlough? Like, are you getting paid still?
I was, yeah. And so it's the next thing above a furlough. Furlough is just you're cut loose, whatever. And then so this is like, we don't want to cut you loose because we hate doing that. But we're gonna, you know, and that's good for them too, because if you're furloughed, when it's time to bring them back, you have to wait for like a year or something just to come back.
When you were on like a leave status, is the pay the same, or is it like drastically reduced?
I mean, it was. I used to fly. I would fly a lot, so I get, you know, paid a lot. So it was a reduced rate, but you know, you're not doing anything.
Man, you needed Jiu Jitsu back then.
Oh my God, I did. So I was trying to find myself. So I started a handyman company, and I was like, all right, because you know we remodeled the bathroom. Hey, I can do that shit. So I did stuff here and there. And I'm like, I built a fence in August. I'm like, all right, I'm done with that. No. So then, you know, the whole reserve officer thing came up. I'm like, yeah, I think that'd be kind of cool to do. So I went and I went through the academy, and I couldn't have done it if I was not on this leave status from the airlines.
Yeah,
because I had time. You know?
What was the in Warren Lappin's Jiu Jitsu Academy as we speak? So if you hear the phone ringing in the background, like I always say, we do real life on this podcast. But was the police academy for you like a course where you stayed there? Did you sleep there, or were you free to come and go?
It was the night school, so it was Tuesday night, Thursday night, and then like every other weekend.
Okay, that's not terrible then.
Yeah.
And for how long?
6 or 7 months.
Okay.
But it was, for me, it was because I was out of the military at this point. I retired in 2019. And I missed a lot of the camaraderie and all this kind of thing. So I'm like, I need to find myself, you know, because I was looking in the mirror and I was like, what are you doing? You're just wasting your life. So that was,
bro, I mean, I don't want to just breeze right past that, because it's like you have a lifetime of service, a bunch of deployments. You have a wife that it sounds like that you guys are very fucking good for each other. Mm-hmm. 2 beautiful kids. And you're looking in the mirror saying, I'm wasting my fucking life. And I feel like so many men come to that conclusion for a bunch of different reasons, you know? Mm-hmm. But what was it that was making you draw that conclusion? Because listening to you tell your life story, it sounds like you had a lot fucking going on for you.
And I did. If I'm looking at it objectively, I mean, so I just, sat around. I did some stuff. I gained a little bit of weight, and I like to look, forward. And all that awesome shit was in the past. I'm like,
I see what you're saying.
What am I doing? I'm not doing anything now. So, I wanted to do something to help. And I was one of those, I guess I still am, naive people that's like, hey, I've got a perspective on things that maybe I can actually help people. Maybe I can do some kind of good out in the community. And the community here really supports the law enforcement still.
No, yeah. And bro, I always tell people, because like, if you listen to the show, you've heard me bitch about the profession plenty, right? Mm-hmm. But I was also only in law enforcement in Los Angeles and Seattle.
Oh, God.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So my experience is very different. And I'll have guys that are like, dude, I'm a deputy in whatever city or county in Texas. And like, I love it. and our community loves us and we love our community. And it's like, man, if that was my experience, I probably wouldn't be sitting here right now. I'd be on patrol. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, you're serving a community that you feel like supports you. So you like to support them.
Right.
And that sounds cool, man.
And, you know, I learned a lot, and I'm a huge nerd, so I love learning stuff. And, you know, during the academy, Greg Lappin came out there and was like, all right, here's, you know, just the very taste of what you might need to know. And I didn't know, and I was like, fuck, I'm going to die. So I'm like, I need to get this situation corrected.
When you're going through the academy as a reservist, is everybody to your left and right also reservists, or do they mix you in with the active duty guys? I guess it'd be full-time guys.
There were actually a bunch of different agencies there.
Okay.
So we had maybe 5 or 6 guys who were trying to go full-time. And then there were a bunch of reservists.
Okay. And so the reservist status, I mean, because that's Lappin's official status too, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
What does that even necessarily entail? Like,
so it's the same thing as a regular street cop, but you don't get paid. And
I don't like how, right? I don't like how that sounds.
Sorry, so let's end the conversation about you're stupid.
So you're going to respond to a DV in progress and not get paid?
Pretty much.
Crazy motherfucker.
Get out. Yeah. Just go. But I mean, there's like a 24-hour a month time requirement. So when I'm on a trip and I want to go out ride with somebody, you know, help out, learn some things, I can do that.
Yeah.
Work details and fares and stuff like that.
And you get a fucking take-home car working 1 day a month?
No.
So that's not your car out front.
Roger. It is.
Okay. I was trying to cover for you.
I mean, it's not. No, that
bro. When I was a deputy, we had our own take homes that were unmarked units, right? And so, man, that's my car. You can fucking drive it wherever I want, right? But there was like this policy where basically between work and your house, you could deviate from your route this much to get groceries, stop for food, or I think use the gym. And outside of that, if you violated that policy, 30 days of unpaid leave.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, period. That's it. Like, they didn't fuck around, right? Guess what everybody did? Drove their cars wherever they wanted. I went over to my buddy's house one day, and I was in what we called him our G ride, right? I was in my G ride, and he's like, "What are you doing, dude?" I was like, "Bro, what do you think I'm doing? I'm coming to your house. You know, you invited me over." He's like, because he was a deputy with me too, right? He goes, "You can't drive that, dude. It's the weekend." And I was like, "Well, are you going to tell on me?" You know, but everybody did that, dude. So yeah, that's not your car out front. Roger that.
Yeah, not my car. I definitely didn't go through the school shooting part of the course and get emotionally involved and be like, I need to get something in case that shit happens here. I need to go to my family.
Oh,
I can flip on the lights, have the bumper, whatever. Just what I can. So, you know, I definitely did not go down to the dealership and say, "Hey, I'm a commissioned officer. Here's my stuff."
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm tracking now.
Never happened.
That probably prevents you from getting pulled over and getting tickets too.
I get strange looks, you know.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That's funny. And bro, I mean, I always joke like I don't miss anything about being a police officer, but I do miss being able to drive however the fuck I want.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny when I left my agency, my supervisor, and this was my first agency when I was a deputy, my supervisor's like, because I quit, I told him, I said, I got to go. My family's first. And I've told the story on the podcast a lot, so I'll spare it. But my supervisor's like, Anderson, what are you going to miss about being a deputy the most? Hoping that like she's gonna get some kind of like,
bring you back.
Oh, you know, the camaraderie with the guys. And I was like, the two things that I will absolutely miss is driving as fast as I want to drive and flying armed, because we were deputies with the Marshal Service, so we could fly armed everywhere. And like, bro, flying armed, I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with the process being a pilot. Like, you walk out where you walk in where everybody's walking out into baggage claim, where there's always one TSA agent sitting there. You just show your creds, give them the UFAN number, and walk on in.
Yeah, that's right.
With the AR-15 in my backpack, you know?
Yeah.
And I didn't give a shit about flying armed, because it's like, what's the chances of ever subduing someone on an aircraft or getting in a shooting on it? Like, it's almost, I think the air marshals have killed one guy, and he was some like disabled kid in a, did you remember that story? And some disabled kid in the jetway running down there or some shit. But, dude, just being able to bypass security, you know,
that's huge.
But, I'll tell you what though, they have, bro, the TSA pre-check, that's the shit, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's still like I shouldn't have even said it on the air, because I think it's kind of a like,
don't do that.
Yeah, I hate it.
Nobody do that.
I think it's like a fucking unknown secret still. But I haven't had to wait in a security line for more than maybe 5-10 minutes max. You know, as opposed to those other lines, dude, hour sometimes, you know? Yeah. And so, someone's out front saying hello. I wonder
who's Greg.
Oh, it was?
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay. Well, they don't know we're in the back doing a podcast. They can figure it out.
I'll figure it out real quick.
So now that you are back flying again a lot, right?
A lot.
Is balancing being a reserve police officer an issue at all, or
it is? You know, they'll call me frequently and say, "Hey, we've got these details. Can you work any of them?" And I'll say, "Well, my schedule let me do this and this, but that's about it." So, you know, I'll do that. But yeah, I mean, I want to contribute and I want to help. So I want to do a bunch of those. Also gain that experience. But I mean, I can't really. I've got to put the job first, you know? Of
course, man. And plus, I mean, fuck, you're 42 now. Or tomorrow you're 42.
Tomorrow, yeah, that's right.
Bro, I mean, running and gunning, there's only... I feel like there's a window in time when that's what you do. And then walking away from that, for me anyways, it felt fucking good, man. Yeah. You know? But then again, you never walk that path either. So it's like... you know, a box that you're checking right now, which is cool, you know? Have you had anything as a police officer yet where you felt like, fuck, yes, dude?
Not really. I mean, there was some DVs that we went to, and we were able to de-escalate things, and that was freaking cool for me. You know, I like helping in that respect. But then there was this one thing where, you know, there were like 5 kids walking around a neighborhood with ARs, checking cars, and, you know, we were trying to find them. And I'm like, fuck, all the scenarios go off in my head, because I'm thinking about it constantly. You know, what if we find these guys? There's 2 of us. They had 5 of them. You know, what if we only find 2 or the other 3? You know, just that kind of shit. You know, that like just spikes your adrenaline or whatever.
For sure. You know, I look back on, you know, almost a decade in the profession, and I can count on one hand, how many days like really touched me emotionally and made me feel like, man, I did something powerful. And like I talked about at the fire, like resuscitating a guy who was dead and blue, you know? And then he came back down with his family and was like, hey, man, and like gave me a hug. And it was like, yes, that is, you know what I mean? That is what I wanted to be a police officer for. So stuff like that, you know? Or like I said, like that guy taking pictures of little boys under the bathroom stalls. Fuck you, you know? And someone came up like, hey, there's a guy in here doing this. And sure as shit, you know, fucking stopped him and got his phone and found out that he worked for the airlines as a... I forget the title of it, but the people that check you in, the gate agent.
No, gate agents. Yeah.
That he was like a part-time gate agent and then worked full-time at a preschool. And it's like, oh no.
Holy shit.
You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, man, that felt good. Yeah. We caught some dirty motherfucker, and now all those kids at his preschool, who I'm sure were being victimized, we stopped a monster. You know what I mean? And it's like, stuff like that as a police officer, I feel like that is what the profession is about, because there are monsters in our communities.
Yeah.
And then there's also just terrible circumstances. And if you're someone that pulls someone out of a burning car, or like I was fortunate enough to be close to a guy who he had a widowmaker heart attack. And I guess those are the worst kind. And the doctor said like very few people survive those, but it's like right time, right place, boom, started doing CPR. And man, I broke his cartilage and his ribs and shit, because as I was doing it, and I'm a fucking strong dude, man, but I remember them saying like because it was the first time I've done CPR plenty on dummies to keep my certs, but they always just say when you're doing it for the first time, you're gonna go hard, and it'll fucking break their ribs and shit, but it'll keep them alive.
Yeah.
And then that guy told me that. He's like, man, my chest was a fucking mess. Just like, all right, I'll take some fucking bumps and bruises.
That's right.
But I'm here with my family,
That's right.
And I think a lot of jurisdictions, there's probably officers that do get that rewarding feeling of impacting their community on a regular basis. Yeah. But in Seattle, it's just dealing with shitheads constantly. And dealing with shitheads in a city that is like almost set up against you. So it's easy to become jaded and ask yourself, what am I doing? What is all this about? But down here, like Lappin tells me, is like the community loves their police officers. Is that what the majority of your experience would say too?
I mean, there's areas where you roll by and they're like, fuck you, pig, all that kind of shit. But there's always going to be those areas, But yeah, as a whole, it's, hey, thanks for what you're doing, waving, all that kind of stuff. And it's great.
And bro, I don't care how tough you are, like having negativity cast your way and getting dirty looks from people, or in Seattle, people will walk right up to you and say rude shit to you too. And it's like, the only reason you're doing that is because I do have this badge and this uniform on.
Yeah.
And if I was in sweatpants and a t-shirt, you would never disrespect me like this. It's almost bizarre that it's like them knowing that you're not going to do anything gives them a pass to treat you like shit.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like all this computer shit.
Yeah.
People talk a bunch of shit from behind a keyboard.
Dude, I've had guys come up to me and this isn't even related. Like plenty of times you're making arrests and they're like, take these fucking handcuffs off and see what happens to you. And it's like, I put them on 2 minutes ago, and before that you had your shot. It didn't go very well, did it? You know what I mean? Like that's just fucking druggy idiots, right? But when a member of the community walks up to you that you're not even interacting with, they go out of their way, they walk up to you and they're like, I think it's pretty stupid that you have to walk around with guns in your own community. You really think you need guns here? You want to be violent in our own community? And it's like, why is this man coming up to me?
Man.
Yeah. And like berating me for having a gun. You know what I mean? And what you want to say is, bro, get the fuck out of my face before you lose your teeth. All right? If you want to come up to me and talk to me about firearms or ask questions, or maybe there's something you don't understand, that's one thing. But you're coming up to me and just to be a dick.
Yeah.
And like what we talked about this weekend, like we need to bring back punching people in the fucking mouth, dude.
Didn't Mike Tyson say something about that? Until you get punched in the face and then it all goes away.
Dude, I guess he beat somebody up like a week ago.
Oh, did he?
Did you see that?
No.
Bro, it was on an airplane.
Really?
We're in your world now.
Okay.
So Mike Tyson, and I might be butchering this story, and if I am, I'm sorry, because it was told to me secondhand, but let's look it up after we stop recording. But supposedly he was on an aircraft in first class, and the guy behind him kept fucking with him, kept fucking with him. And it's like, dude,
do you know who you're fucking with right now?
Yeah, Mike Tyson might be, I think he's probably in his mid-50s now. But if you've watched him hit mitts in the last year, he's still Mike fucking Tyson.
That's right.
You know? And I guess he just turned around and fucking wham.
Good on him.
Yeah, of course, bro.
Play stupid games and you're going to win stupid prizes. That's all it is.
Yeah, dude. But they'll probably go after him and sue him and charge him with assault. Like, who knows how it'll play out. But like, fuck, man, have some common sense.
Yeah.
You fuck with people enough, you fuck with a dog, you might get bit.
Yeah.
And that's just how it goes, dude.
Yeah. So going back to your you know, your positive stories with being a cop and thing. I'm super new to it, and you know, the guys who are out there full time absolutely got all of my respect. I haven't had anything like that on that side, but I have on the aviation side where, you know, we fly medevac a mission. So we'd base in Ramstein, fly over to Bagram, pick up some bad patients.
Oh, yeah.
And then turn out and fly back super long, like 14, 15-hour days.
And do you have like a full like flight crew of doctors and nurses?
Yeah,
and
there's
taking care of patients and stuff.
There's nurses in the back, and you know, we take them over there. And there was this one time where the fog down in Ramstein was pretty low. The ceiling was low. And you're supposed to have a certain, you know, visibility to be able to land. And then you pick out the runway. You can go a little bit lower, all that kind of thing. And so the flight attendant, the nurse called up and said, "Hey, this guy's really bad. So we just need to get on the ground." And we're like, fuck, all right. So we're making the approach, and I think I see something. I don't know. So, but I ended up continuing when I kind of shouldn't have, and landed the plane, and it was all good. And they were able to get him out. And like 2 days later, I was walking around with, you know, some of the nurses, another pilot or whatever. And this guy and his family come up to me, and they're like, "Hey, just so you know, this was my husband, this is my daughter." And you say, because the nurse was like, "Hey, those are the pilots that landed the airplane. You saved his life, because if we had to go around, he wouldn't have made it." So
fuck yeah, dude. No, man, that's like, those are the things that should fuel us as human beings.
Absolutely, it did.
You know, and like, you know, I often say, like, everything we do to a certain degree is self-serving, right? Mm-hmm. Because when you help somebody in a situation like that, and you see their family light up and you see the good that you've caused, man, it feels good in your heart. Yeah. And that's a good feeling that we should be chasing. But even though it's self-serving, that doesn't make it a bad thing. Right. Like, if really enriching someone's life in a manner that will, like, to this day, he's probably sitting somewhere with his kids. Yeah. You've given them a decade of enjoyment with each other, right? Man, that kind of stuff should make us feel fucking good. Yeah. And we should be chasing those kind of feelings.
Yeah. I was beaming the whole rest of the day. I was like, fuck yeah, I'm actually doing something that needs to be done out here. And it was amazing.
Man, I've heard a lot of stories about, like, the OR, in Iraq and Afghanistan and flying patients out and stuff. And it's like, fighting the war on the streets is one thing, but man, those doctors back at Bagram or back at Camp Ramadi or back in Baghdad, that was like a 24/7 around the clock, non-stop job. Amputees, blown, like, IEDs, and just people that are super fucked up coming in. I can't even imagine that, dude.
Yeah, like, I mean, you have to be a special kind of really strong person to be able to see all that shit. Yeah, and, you know, compartmentalize and do your job and all that kind of thing.
You know, Sean Baker. Are you familiar with Sean Baker? He wrote the book The Carnivore Diet. Okay, and he's become one of my buddies because he signed up at my jiu-jitsu academy just by chance, right? He moved locally and started training jiu-jitsu with me. It's pretty cool. But he's known by everybody for, you know, being on Rogan and being an advocate of a primarily meat diet. And he's a super athlete and he's working out all the time. But he was a surgeon in the military in Iraq, fixing people before he went down this path. And he's going to do the podcast, but it's making me think, like, those are the stories I want to hear. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, that's a massive impact on people. And it's cool. I've had another buddy who's a ER doctor, and dude, he's done rotations to Iraq, and like, the doctors make less money there than they make back home. It's just the experience and to be able to give back. Yeah. You know? So that's pretty cool, man. So I can't wrap this up without going into jiu-jitsu.
Oh yeah, let's go into jiu-jitsu.
Because as you know, jiu-jitsu is a cult, and once you're part of the jiu-jitsu cult, you have to talk about jiu-jitsu all the time. But being new, and Lappin told me this. He goes, man, Mike came in and expressed his desire to want to train, but because of his schedule and because of always being gone, he had some concerns that like, man, it might be, it just might be harder for me than other people or whatever it was. And so he's like, well, bro, when you're on these work trips, let me know what city you're in and let's start getting training in at other gyms, and I'll vet them before you go. And then you can continue training. It's only been a couple weeks since that's happened, right? And you've already trained at some other academies.
Yeah. So I got back into it 3.5 weeks ago or something like that, and had more trips. And so any trip, when I have a layover of like 18, 19 hours or longer, I'll say, hey, I'll be in this city this day, kind of look around. And the first one was in Tampa. I went there, and it was like one of those garage gyms where it was just like hot and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, this is completely different from Vita. And whoa, fuck, what am I doing?
How many people were there?
It was the weekend. It was the week before Pans. So there were about 20 people or so.
Okay,
there.
so it was, a lot.
Yeah. And, we were doing our thing. And after we got done, I took a picture and I sent it to Greg. I was like, hey, I did it. There you go. But it was cool to see their different variation on how they did things.
Bro, jiu-jitsu, I tell people all the time, jiu-jitsu is like a language, right? And we may all be talking, but these people are speaking Portuguese and these people are speaking English. And it's very different.
Yeah.
And you'll go to different teams or different academies, and their jiu-jitsu, man, it's a different language.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, you're so new that you might not feel how different it is necessarily, but sometimes it almost feels like they're doing something different. And they probably feel like we're doing something different.
Yeah.
It's like, is this jiu-jitsu? Like, what?
Right.
And
the cool thing about what I get to do and, go train in all these other places is, pick up that little thing. Like this place in Tampa, we would move our neck just back and forth, working on our neck, which is like, oh, hey, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I got a little bit out of that. And then a little later I went to California, and I went, I forget the name of the gym.
I think it was Cabrinho's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because Cabrinho is a legend in the jiu-jitsu community.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's not just some gym.
Oh, shit. I feel like an asshole.
No, don't feel like an asshole. Feel fortunate that you got to train there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he's older now. I would guess he's probably our age. But when he was younger, he was one of the best of his time. And so he made a big name for himself. And then his academy, I've never been there myself, but supposedly from what I've heard, it's very awesome.
Yeah, it was neat. And then before the Guns Gis, I was supposed to go on a trip and be in California. And then I was going to make the trek down to Joel's gym and train there. But, we had something with the family and I couldn't go. But
well, I'm sure you'll be back out there, right?
hell yeah. So I told, Tyler was my rolling partner during the camp.
Yeah.
Super fucking guy. Shout out Tyler. But, I told him I'm going to start bidding Seattle and Los Angeles. And if I can get some decent layovers, fucking go train.
Yeah, bro. Anytime you're in the Seattle area, dude, my house is your house. You can crash. You can crash in our guest bedroom for the time being.
Right.
2 of my daughters share a room together, and they've been begging for one of them to take the guest bedroom. And they're 7 and 10, so it's probably time, right?
Yeah.
But still, my couch is still available.
I appreciate that.
So is that how it works then? I was going to ask, do you have like your routes that you fly, or can you kind of pick and choose then?
So everything is based on seniority. So the number one guy in the airplane at the base picks whatever trips he wants and he gets it.
Okay.
So, but we all have the same trip list, and you say, hey, I want trips to Seattle. I want trips to Los Angeles, whatever. And you put that in a system and the computer works it through, and it goes number one guy, number two guy. And based on what they want, you'll be able to get maybe some things that you want, how long you been with them since you said 2017? 17, yep.
So are you getting some seniority, or is this like, are you fighting against guys that have been there 25 years?
I'm about halfway up the category.
Okay.
And I'm just now starting to get some kind of weekends off. So
yeah. No, seniority is a weird thing, man, because like a lot of it is based on chance, right? Like when I got hired as a police officer, like 40 cops came into my agency behind me in the course of 3 years. And I've talked to other cops that got there before me, and they're like, bro, I was the lowest guy on the totem pole for 5 years because we went on a massive hiring freeze. So you're the bottom of the totem pole for 5 years. And in police work, it's the same thing. Like your vacations, your time off, all that's bid, and they do that through through seniority. Yeah, at least at my agency. And so you have some guys that are bottom totem pole for 5 years, and then you have other guys that have like, I had good seniority and like 2. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. Oh, and my whole life has been like that. It's been like, I don't know why, but just luck, I guess, luck or the universe or whatever the hell you want to call it. You know, there's been like a period, many periods where you've had like several options. And you're like, oh, what about this? But something tells you to go this route. And it just works out. I can't understand it.
Bro, I can't understand it either, but I'm to a point in my life where I think like, I don't know if I want to say everything happens for a reason, but I think the universe is somehow set up in a way where it sends you signals, and if you listen to them, you get rewarded. And if you deny them, you get punished. Yeah. You know, because you even said that, like the universe, you know, some things kind of align, but then you have to be the final one that takes that leap of faith. And if you're listening to the things in your life that are suggesting to go this way or that way, and you do it, I don't know. I don't understand it either, but it's absolutely real. Yeah. I felt it in my life, especially the last couple of years, is like a lot of the things that I've done, you know, be it leaving a profession or starting this or like, you know, like doing my, building my property, like a lot of different things that on their surface, a lot of people are like, dude, don't do that. That's crazy. That's a bad idea. Yeah. And people are always going to be naysayers, but there's been other things that like kind of touched me, is like, you know what? It's time to try something. It's time to go do this or jump in with that with both feet. And everything that I've embarked on, that I've prioritized and that I've put positive energy into, it's fucking succeeding. Yeah.
And maybe that's it. So like my whole life, it's been like this thing, it feels right to do this. You know, this is what feels right. And I've just gone with it. And so maybe that's, like, I don't know.
Bro, I think one of the most underrated capacities of human beings is our intuition. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And like intuition is not just for survival and not getting eaten by tigers and shit like that. Like, dude, intuition comes into play with business moves, with friendships, with relationships with women. Like intuition it doesn't matter. You can be buying a house and then something's like, dude, I got a bad feeling about this. You know, closing on this house, fuck. You know what I mean? It can be anything. But for whatever that intuition is, and I couldn't even begin to unpack what that is. Yeah. You know, is it something within our own brain, or is it our own brain sometimes I wonder if our own brain can almost dial in to other people's frequencies and kind of pick up on their energies.
I think it has to,
you know, so like if you're buying a truck or something and the guy in his own mind is like, yeah, I know this transmission's blown, but I'll play it off. And hopefully he buys this motherfucker from me. Like there's something about his inauthenticity that you can key into. Yeah. And then, I got to fucking walk away. Right. Yeah. And like, I know people fucking probably think that's crazy, but it's happened enough times in my life, both for good and bad. Like walking away from things that are shitty, or like, man, I got a good vibe with this guy. Like, let's take a leap of faith with them, or whatever it is. Right. Listening to your gut serves you. Yeah. Period, dude. You know? Yeah. Dude, and then the other side of that is manifesting your reality. You know, and I don't know if you believe in the power of manifestation, but there's enough. This is actually like statistically proven that people that believe in themselves and people that believe in the tasks that they put in front of them and tell themselves, I'm going to win. I can do this. I will do this. They do this.
Yeah.
And the people that tell themselves I can't and it won't happen and I'm going to fail, then they fail. And it's like, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So if you're one of those people that, you know, you have an opportunity and you take it and you tell yourself, this is going to work for me, that's the first step of actually making it work for you.
Yeah. And so a lot of that is, you know, for your mental situation as well. But I mean, I don't know where your religious beliefs lie, but a lot of people I know will say, you know, well, God's going to help me through this or whatever. And that's, you're putting that in something. It's like a switch, like, hey, I know I can do it because of this reason, or, you know, I'll just think about my kids and I'll be invincible or whatever. But it's just a switch.
Yeah.
You know, and oh, by God, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Are you a religious person?
I'm not really. So I tried to, back when I was young, my family was Catholic. So went to, you know, Catholic mass and then was going through catechism, and I have a lot of questions. So
Yeah.
I was like, hey, what about this? What about that? And I was like 13 at the time. Why not this? And then no shit. She was like, hey, you should leave. This is not the right place for you. So I was like, oh, fuck, I just got kicked out of the Catholic Church.
Well, and think about that. You got kicked out of it for being curious.
Yep.
Like, being curious is something that should be celebrated.
Yeah.
You know? Oh, Chris Schiff stopping by with the Fit Aid. Dude, that's a...
You want the non-crushed king?
No, dude, this is perfect. My man. Thank you. Being curious should be celebrated.
Yeah.
You know? Because at no point... Like, we literally told the students there, the students that attended this course this weekend, hey, if we tell you something and it doesn't make sense, or you don't understand the why, or you think that there's a better way, like, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Because if we can just sit back and say, oh no, it's the way it's always been done, and that's why we do it, and I was an Army Ranger and you were just a pilot, like, why would you question me at shooting? Like, all that's ego driven, right? If something doesn't make sense to you, it doesn't matter what our backgrounds are, who we are, what our capabilities are. I either need to be able to give you the whys, or I need to look in the mirror and be like, am I just regurgitating something, or do I really understand this?
Yeah.
And that's part of just being an authentic person. So if you're questioning your religion and they're like, get out of here.
Yeah.
To me, it's like, Roger that.
So you're saying it won't hold up to scrutiny? All right. Thank you.
I'll see you later.
That's right.
Dude, where I'm at on religion is, it's kind of a strange place, because consistently, like, the best men I know are followers of Christ.
Yeah.
The people I love the hardest, a lot of them are followers of Christ. And I've had lots of talks with people about this. Bro, I think Christ was an extremely powerful person. And he probably, and I don't know if he was actually, like, powerful spiritually and like part of what everybody believes he was part of, or if he was just a man that had so much power within himself that it caused other people to think that it had to be spiritual.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But undoubtedly that guy was a fucking powerful human being.
Yeah.
But I think for me, I think religion is kind of what you make it. Right?
It is. So I studied a bunch of different religions, you know, because maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe I'm just not finding my fit. And everyone that I studied, I'm like, all right, this doesn't make any sense. This doesn't make any. So I just came up with, I'm not religious to a certain, I don't prescribe to one religion, but it's just, I'm spiritual, you know?
Bro, same conclusion I've come to. Because over the course of my life, I 100% know without a doubt that there's a bigger energy, there's a creator, there's a universe, there's something out there that holds more power than myself.
Yeah.
And I get to be part of all of this. But is that bigger power simply a collective of all the energy of all the living things that we're sharing the universe? Or is there an actual deity? Like, I don't know, but I do know that we're part of something that's bigger than ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think celebrating that is cool.
Absolutely.
You know?
And you take that one step further. Like, we are one planet in one, little solar system in one galaxy. How many other planets and galaxies and all that kind of shit are there with life on it too? And then you're like, well, I wonder if they have the same questions, and I wonder if somehow we're all connected.
I think we are, man. Yeah.
It's got to be.
No, but that's why, like, the older I get, the kinder I become. Not just as a man to other people, but just how I treat the environment. Dude, like, if I see my crazy little 7-year-old out stomping ants in the driveway, I tell her to cut it out. And she's like, they're just bugs. And I'm like, yeah, and you're killing them for no reason.
Yeah.
And what are they doing? They're living their lives, just like we're living our lives. Yeah. And for us, we can say bug shit is just bug shit, right? Maybe it's not.
Yeah.
Maybe bug shit to them is just as important as us being us.
Yeah.
You know?
And like we were talking about cogs in the wheel of the military, what is that bug shit actually?
Cogs in the wheel of the universe,
that's
right?
Exactly right.
And so the older I get, and people listening will be like, dude, I didn't know I started following a fucking hippie, right? But dude, I won't even cut trees down anymore unless there's a reason to.
Right.
I mean, I'm building a range and I'm building a driveway. Like, I understand there's bushes and trees that have to go for me to facilitate what I want to facilitate. Right. But both plants and animals, man, if it's a living entity, I'm going to respect it.
Yeah.
Unless there's a reason that I can't. And one of those is eating. I have to eat meat. Like, life eats life to sustain life.
Yep.
Right. And so it's like, I understand that's a cycle. And for me to partake in this cycle, I have to take life to survive. And I think that's part of why I've started hunting. And I started hunting, but I haven't started killing yet. I haven't killed anything. I've just went hunting.
All right.
But I'm trying to get that experience, not because I think I'll enjoy it. There's no part of me that's going to enjoy killing an animal. I already know that.
Yeah.
But I think to be authentic and be honest with yourself, like, dude, if you eat steak all the time, you need to feel what it's like taking that creature and depriving it of its life so that you can have yours. And I think it's just going to help me feel based and help me understand, like, that I am part of this machine, like you said. And every creature and plant is a cog in it. And the more intimate you are with those relationships with your environment, I think the more overall authentic human being you can become.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the first time you do take an animal, I remember my first time, you're going to feel it. You're going to walk up with this animal and you're going to feel bad. And so,
bro, I don't want to not feel that.
Yeah, exactly. Just like I don't want to not feel bad leaving my family.
Yeah.
I don't want to not feel bad killing something.
Yep. And even fish, and I'm an avid fisherman. I love fishing, and we fish. It's lingcod season. It just opened. As soon as I go home, we're going to gas the boat out and we're going to go catch lingcod. But again, that's how we feed our family. That's one of the methods that we use to feed our family. But clubbing the fish on the head isn't like an enjoyable thing anymore. It's like, okay, this is part of this cycle of life that we live.
Yeah.
And, bro, it just helps me feel more grounded, helps me feel like a better person. Yeah. And I think that's what we should all be striving to do.
Yeah. And that's one of the important things, in my opinion, about older guys like, well, me, you're still young, but
bro, we're both 41.
Yeah, I'm 42 tomorrow, so I got you beat, man.
Yeah.
But, helping to mold the younger guys. Like, there's the study in Africa where they had the elephants and then people would kill the bulls, and then the kids would have like no dad or whatever, no grandfather, and then the kids, the young elephants would just lose their shit and go be asshole elephants. And then they figured that out, and then they,
because they weren't having mentorship.
That's right. They didn't have the older elephants to say, "Hey, quit fucking up."
Wow.
Yeah, and it's a real thing.
It's a family unit. You know what I mean? It's like relationships.
You need that perspective and that guidance. And I think people are the same way,
Yeah. No, but when I say, like, I think your religion may be whatever you believe it to be. I think, let me see. How do I really articulate this, right? Because like if you're a follower of Christ and following him makes you a better person, and living his values makes you a better person. And if you believe that if I do these things, this is what the universe is going to do, and this is what's going to happen to my soul and stuff, like, I think it might all be true.
Yeah.
Because that's the reality that you're manifesting for yourself. Whereas it might be very, for like Buddha, that religion believes like you may live multiple lives trying to reach enlightenment. And bro, I think people that are doing that path, that may be true for them too.
Yeah.
Like I believe, I actually had a massage therapist one time. I have a broken rib on my left side that I can show it to you. It's broken.
Holy shit.
And my doctor told me it's broken. I don't ever remember breaking it.
Yeah. Well, can you fix this shit?
Yeah. So either I'm really tough and I don't remember getting my rib broken from a kick or something. But no, and she's like, this massage therapist is like very like a spiritually in tuned person. And she felt that and she goes, oh, this is where you were killed in your last life. Someone put a sword right here.
Holy shit.
And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? And then I was in my sauna and I got super high. And this is like fucking, maybe this is just stoner shit, or maybe there's some validity to this, but I got so high that I like felt like I detached from my body and watched myself in another time have that sword drove right through my rib.
Dude, so you
and
say
I'm
that.
like, bro, there's fucking something going on here that I don't understand. But it was vivid, and it was cannabis. Okay, I wasn't on ayahuasca or something crazy. I smoked a joint and went to this place where I watched myself be killed in the manner that she said I was killed. And it's like, dude, I don't know what the fuck's going on, but something is.
Yeah. There's a story of some kid, I don't know names or places or anything like that, but some kid would, tell their parents, hey, I think I was like a pilot in another life, a pilot in war. And, he put out the name, he put all the stuff. I think I died like this and crashed here and all this kind of thing. And he was like, they were like, no, your kid's
some
imagination.
story,
but no,
that
he
you're
was
coming up
so
with.
adamant about it and all this kind of stuff. And so they compiled all the information and they checked it out. And sure enough, exactly like he said it was happening, that's what happened.
So, bro, goes back to what we said, I don't know, half hour ago. One of two things is happening. The real spiritual transfer is happening where a person is getting to relive another life, and that's a real thing. Or there is some type of antenna where our brains can key in on other people, maybe past and present, right? And you can tune into other people's souls or other people's brain waves, and like able to extract that information, and like, who fucking knows, right?
Yeah.
But if you think this world is what you see on its surface, not being honest with yourself.
100%.
Or you're telling yourself a lie.
100%. So I hate heights. I hate them with a passion. And I'm wondering, is that because of some shit maybe that happened somebody in the past that I'm tuning into or what?
A pilot is freaked out of heights.
There are the majority of pilots that I know don't like heights.
That's funny. But I'll tell you what, though. I actually told this story this weekend. I don't remember to who. But, like, I've jumped out of airplanes lots of times as a ranger. And I never felt that, like, stepping out of the door, like, oh, fuck, like how high it is.
Yeah.
Because you don't really have any perception. I mean, it doesn't feel like standing on the edge of a tower or something where it's like, whoa, you get that like that crazy feeling. You're so high that it's like, here I go. I never felt that like, oh shit. The only thing I hated about jumping was knowing that the ground was coming, because those military parachutes suck, dude. But no. So then I went to a water park with the boys, and it was Zach. He was like 15 or 14 at the time, and he just jumps in this water slide that's like an 80-foot drop or something. And I got to the top of it and was like, I got that little like feeling like, what the fuck, dude? But I couldn't hesitate for a second, because these are like this is like my family. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? If they see weakness in me,
Yeah, that's it.
like, dude, I thought Greg was like this savage and he was afraid to go down a water slide.
Why is he crawling up there?
So no, I mean, I don't have a choice at that point. The water,
Yeah.
if the water slide gets
This is
me,
it.
this is it, right? And I just jump in, and of course it's fun, you know?
Yeah.
But I was like, man, why does some things give you that fear response, and then other things just don't at all?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, like, I don't know. For me, it's like I feel very comfortable behind the wheel of a car or behind the stick of an airplane or whatever, because I know what's going on. And if I'm just standing up on a tall thing, you know, even if there's a railing, you know, I look over, I'm like, fuck this railing. That's it. That's me and not me, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I fucking hate them.
Well, fuck, man. See, look at that. We're coming up on 2 hours already.
Damn.
Isn't that crazy, dude?
That is insane.
And that's how you know it's a fun episode. It's a good podcast when we're just, you vibe, and before you know it, it's 2 hours in. But I just wanted to tell you, man, like, meeting everybody this weekend, like, it doesn't matter if you're student or cadre. I made friendships that I'll fucking cherish forever.
Right.
And that's what we continue to do this camp. And that's, in my opinion, the biggest takeaway. And I appreciate you coming out. I appreciate you doing the show. And I'm telling you, I mean, I know you've already bought into jiu-jitsu enough to be taking it serious. But once you're 2, 6, 8 months, 2 years into the journey, it just gets better and better, man.
Yeah.
And you're going to feel better emotionally. Your body's going to be stronger physically, and it's going to continue to be something that serves you. And like, man, spreading the jiu-jitsu cult is like my life mission now, because just like you said, like, a lot of the things that you've done where you felt like flying that kid to the hospital and he lived and you got to meet his family, right? Like shit like that. Bro, you get that with jiu-jitsu too, because you take people that are either in a dark place or they're not proud of themselves or they don't like what their bodies become, and you give them that tool of jiu-jitsu and people fix it.
Yeah.
And bro, when people look in the mirror and they're proud of who they are again, and you got to be a little piece of that puzzle, fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah. And it's not jiu-jitsu fixing it. It's you fixing it. And jiu-jitsu is just a tool.
Fuck yeah.
And you're just, you know, a mentor and all this kind of thing. It's fucking great.
And the truth is, man, like, very, very, very few people, me included, can succeed on nothing but their own 2 feet. You need a community of people to be accountable to help motivate each other, to pick each other up when you're down or I'm down. And that's what the team does, man.
Yeah.
And like, human beings, since the beginning of time, we are tribal by nature.
Exactly.
We have to have strong men and women to our left and right that we can lean on. And modern society has kind of abandoned that. And I think the mats touch that primal need to know people on an intimate level. And you find that, like, oh man, these people that I share this experience with on a regular basis, they're all part of what is helping me become the best version of myself. And a lot of people think it sounds strange, but you've already lived it enough to feel that.
Yeah.
Like, I have no doubts that, like, literally any person that was in camp over the weekend, if I called them and it was like, hey man, this might sound kind of weird, but me and my wife had this fight and I don't have anywhere to stay tonight, like, or whatever it may be, right?
Yeah.
They'd be there for you.
Hell yeah.
That's a real thing.
That's a very real thing.
And knowing that you're expanding the network of people that care about each other, it's powerful, dude.
Yeah. And then, so like, I tried to explain that to my wife and she's like, that just doesn't make any sense. I mean, there's those who have been through it and that little brotherhood and they get it. And then there's those who have yet to experience it, you know? And
bro, I bet, how far away do you guys live from the gym?
30, 45 minutes, something like that.
All right. I look forward to hearing about your wife starting jiu-jitsu one day.
So I told Dustin Stevens, one of the range guys, I was like, he said, dude, you should bring your wife out to the next camp, because I signed up for the next camp. And I was like, man, if you can get her to come out and do this camp, I'll give you $1,000. You know?
Oh, shit.
Swear to God. And that goes for anybody. If anybody can get her to come do that, I don't care if you split it 50-50.
I was just going to say, what's your wife's name?
That's right.
What's
Megan. Her name is Megan.
Megan, I have an offer for you to make the fastest $500 you've ever made in your life. You know what? Maybe I'll try and get my wife to attend it as a student. How cool would that be?
That would be awesome.
Right? Well, and here's the thing. Class 6, which is November 6th, right? That's the start date. Lappin told me we're already half sold out, and almost everybody that is coming are couples.
Oh, really?
And isn't that cool?
Dude, that would be...
Because we've had couples come through at every class almost, right? But we haven't had a class that's majority couples. And it's interesting watching the different dynamics of each, like this class we had, was it 4 girls?
Yeah. 1,
4 or
2, 3,
5?
4, yeah.
4. Last class was half girls. And so it's like, it's interesting. Who shows up changes the dynamics. And each class has had its own dynamics, but each class has been fucking awesome in its own way, right?
Yeah.
And so, dude, a class that's almost all couples, I think that'll be cool in its own way too. As long as there's no bullshit drama, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That could go either way.
Well, cool, man. Is there anything that you would like to say wrapping this up? I always give people the opportunity to say, if you have a social media and you're open to interacting with people, you can say where to find you, and any closing thoughts.
So I just signed up with the Instagram thing yesterday.
Okay.
So I have no idea what my username or whatever the hell it is.
Are you cool with me tagging that in the show notes below? Okay. Because every episode we record, someone somewhere is trying to be a pilot, and they heard this episode and they have a question for you.
Yeah.
And like Ron, when he did the show, he got inundated with messages. You know what I mean? And so I think it's cool for our community, because just like the Mats, the podcast is a community of people too.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have questions, and a lot of people are on their path, and it's cool to be able to give them guidance or give them answers, you know?
Yeah. So anybody with pilot questions or, band questions, whatever, I don't care, dude. I'll fucking answer whatever you got. If I know the answer, of course. But reach out. I'm good to go.
Cool, man.
But I will say, if anybody is on the fence about Guns and Gis, on either side of it, as far as the shooting side or the jiu-jitsu side, I was apprehensive about both. I know you hear people say just come out and do it, but no shit. It's a family thing, and you learn so much about yourself, and you leave absolutely fulfilled doing it. And so I absolutely thank you for the podcast and what you do, and being part of this Guns and Gis thing. And seriously, just fucking do it.
Cool, man.
You're gonna thank yourself.
Yeah, I appreciate hearing that, because that validates this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to touch people. We're trying to give people a fire to become a better version of themselves.
Yeah.
So thank you, man. And it sounds like I'll be seeing you hopefully before November, but if not, we'll be doing Class 6 together too.
Fucking right.
All right. Thanks, brother.
See you.